there are very few people in the world that are as good at communicating with animals as Mr. Beau Brooks. So when it came to our turkey calling episode in our turkey series, there was no better person to talk about how to communicate with birds than Beau Brooks. So I've got Beau on today, and he is going to cover all things turkey calling for you. Some tips and tricks, some different ways to use calls. As a new turkey caller, what calls to start with, what calls to add in after that, how to build a calling sequence, how to understand what the birds are saying, different noises you can make to really help you pull those birds in closer. It is a phenomenally informative episode. I like anybody who's willing to give of information, tips and tricks, trying to help people. It's completely free to do. It doesn't cost you anything. You're not losing anything because you're helping somebody else. And I absolutely love how much information Beau puts out there on how to call, on how to communicate with animals, on how to understand their vocabulary. He's just a great guy. And that's what he's here to do for you today, is help you understand the vocabulary of a turkey and how to communicate with them. This entire series is brought to you by my great friends over at Blocker Outdoors. As I'm gearing up for turkey hunting, again, I'm not a turkey hunter. This is my start into my turkey hunting journey. I had to go find some new gear, some pants, some lightweight hoodies, some face masks, some gloves, a turkey vest. I had to get all that. And as I looked at different brands, I realized, man, you could spend a lot of money getting into this, or you can go to the Blocker Outdoors website and get it all for, $350, and I'm ready to go turkey hunting. And it's phenomenal gear and you can get it in several patterns, but they also offer everything in the incredibly sexy Bottomland. So guys, as you gear up for turkey hunting, go check out Blocker Outdoors. They make phenomenal gear that is very well priced, and they've partnered with me on a giveaway to do a guided turkey hunt giveaway here in Kansas with Skeen Outfitters, $300 worth of Blocker Outdoor gear and a pack of the brand new Dirty Bird broadheads from G5. So get entered to win that. You'll not only go on a free guided turkey hunt, but you also get some of that new gear from Blocker and G5. So all you've got to do to enter to win that, like and follow all of those three companies, Skeen Outfitters, Blocker Outdoors, G5 Outdoors on Instagram, and then make sure you're subscribed to the podcast on either YouTube or Spotify. And we're going to give away a guided turkey hunt here in Kansas. Let's jump in with Mr. Beau Brooks and learn how to become a better turkey caller.
For the true sportsman, it's more than a pastime. It's a way of life. Embrace the lifestyle of hunting, fishing, and the thrill of the wild. Live the life. Be typical.
Guys, there are a lot of names that you can trust in the archery world. However, not many stick out as much as the name Lancaster Archery. Guys, if you've been around archery or bow hunting at all, you've probably heard of Lancaster. Why? That's because they're experts, and that's because they're your one-stop shop for all things archery. I've never needed something and not found it at Lancaster. I've also been able to find reviews and tips using the product that I needed that Lancaster had. Guys, Lancaster is phenomenal. They are experts in the trade. They know the equipment because they use the equipment. And you can pretty much get anything you've ever needed archery related at lancasterarchery.com. You can also learn about the products you need on their YouTubes, in their videos, on their social media. You can also get tips about how to use the products. Guys, Lancaster is a phenomenal one-stop shop. And here's what I'll tell you. Sometimes you gotta be mindful of who you're taking information from. You don't have to worry about it at all when it comes to Lancaster. I put full faith in the guys over at Lancaster. They know the products. They sell the products. They give you advice on the products. They give you support on the products. You can call and ask them anything. They'll get you lined out. They'll sell it to you, and then they'll support you even after you buy it and you need help figuring it out. Guys, go check out lancasterarchery.com for everything you need archery related. Mr. Beau Brooks, how the heck are you, man?
Oh, I'm doing good, man. How are you?
Oh, not as good as you, dude. You've been hunting.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I've been I've always tried to, that's my end goal always is like, how can I keep hunting every day and spend as least amount of time in the office?
So what were you doing? Where were you hunting?
Man, I went out west. My mom team ropes, and so she has a little camp down in Arizona, and I was out there. I was shooting collared doves and pigeons, and I've done that I've been doing it for years. I love doing it. I mean, I'm out east now, and the opportunity to hunt pigeons and doves and whatnot is a lot smaller. So I go back home or Arizona or any of the western states, and I usually beat them up pretty good.
Speaking of your parents, the most listened to episode of Typical Sportsman in 2025 was Papa Casey and his new world record bull, which is absolutely just insane. So how do you go from being now I'm sure the connection between calling is there, but how do you go from a dad who's just a stinking elk killer? I mean, what, 10 bulls over 400 now? More than that, maybe. I don't even remember now.
Yeah.
And now you're just birds and turkeys.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, man. I've grew up, I love hunting everything, man. At the end of the day, I mean, I hunt elk still, 35 days a year. But it used to be I would guide elk hunts. So, that was before I doing what I'm doing now. Now I own a company, elk call company. So I get to hunt for myself a little more. But that being said, man, I'm always been a bird nerd, man. I love them. And my dad is if you asked him tomorrow what his favorite thing to hunt is, he would tell you turkeys or ducks.
Really?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's just like, to me, and this is a very controversial topic for Western versus East guys, but it's just like, for me, it's just like elk hunting, except for I get to do it over and over and over and over again. For me. Yeah. And so that's it for me. I hunt them like I'm hunting elk. 90% of the time my style is it's very much using the terrain, popping the bubble, doing the same thing I would do elk hunting. And I take what I learned from turkey hunting, especially on those really hard-headed southern easterns, I bring it to when I'm hunting elk, and there's plenty of crossover there. So as far as waterfowl is concerned, man, I'm just eat up with that. I mean, I've always been eat up with it. I love birds.
Something Waddell said in the first episode of this series, where he kind of just talked about his passion for turkey hunting, was that he truly believes that if you become effective at hunting turkeys, you're a better hunter all around. Like, you will be a better elk hunter. You will be a better deer hunter. You'll be a better small game hunter, all the above, when you become really effective at hunting turkeys. And so that's part of why I'm excited to look at this with new eyes, and part of the reason I'm excited to really give turkey hunting a fair chance, because I will admit it didn't get a fair chance with me. I hunted them not the old school way, I guess, but I hunted them sitting in a blind over a decoy, and just almost your deer hunting turkeys, and so it's just like, this is stupid. So looking at it with new eyes, trying new tactics, actually learning how to communicate with birds. So that's what I'm really excited about today to cover with you, man. And hey, I was just on the phone with a buddy. He runs a turkey hunting outfit, and we were talking. I said, yeah, I'm getting ready to do this podcast with Beau. And he said, listen, I firmly believe that there's not a better person on the planet right now that can communicate with animals. And I was like, really? He's like, that's my opinion. And we're not just talking turkeys. I mean, there's probably better turkey callers. There's probably better elk callers. But as far as communicating with any and all animals, he said, I believe Beau's probably the very best one on the planet right now. And I was like, dude, that's some high praise, man.
Well, that was my goal of my whole life. Was to be the best at all of it. It's like, I have a deal, man. I can't sleep at night if I know I can't do something at the highest level. You know what I mean? I mean, obviously cleaning my house or some of these things that don't mean anything to me. I mean, obviously I'm not that fired up about, but as far as calling, I've always been that way. I mean, that's where everybody is like, oh man, they will say, oh, it's your teeth. And I'm like, dude, I used to practice about 6 to 7 hours a day calling. I'd start out, depending on the time of year, but I mean, I'd elk call, I'd duck call, I'd goose call, I'd turkey call. And I'd just keep going through all of them and practice and practice and practice. And then I'd find something else that I couldn't do. And I would practice and practice and practice and practice and practice and practice. And then go use it and go hunt. And then, it's just, for me, that's my highest form of hunting, because I control the situation. The hardest situations for me is like when you're hunting a giant mule deer and I don't have any control whatsoever. That's always the toughest ones for me. And I mean, if you want to become an incredible hunter in general, hunting giant mule deer, spot and stock mule deer in general will make you an incredible hunter. I believe though that, especially for like, what people can do, especially on the eastern side of the country, to become just a really good woodsman and hunter, turkey hunting is the best form to really be able to do that, because you're able to move through the landscape. You aren't pinned down to one spot all the time. There's lots of opportunity and you learn a lot. And especially in the South, they're very, very, very smart.
Well, and I'm going to say, just based off of the conversations I've had with your dad, you come by that mentality, honestly, because that dude set out to be the very best elk hunter in America, and I believe he is. And let me just address this with Mr. Beau on the line here. For all you thugs that sat back and said, "Oh, he baited that bull in," listen, he's the baddest elk hunter on planet Earth, and he's got the trophies to prove it. And so if putting some alfalfa out was legal, what's wrong with that? Like that's all I want to say. I mean, it is literally, you're talking about one of the baddest elk hunters on the planet.
Well, man, I'll tell you what, I've been with my dad. I've hunted with my dad for a long time. And, you ask why I'm waterfowl. I mean, I'll tell you one thing. I had a big shadow to get out from under when I was growing up, because on the West Coast, everyone knew Casey.
See that.
Everyone, and I wanted to, I love being, I'm proud as can be. You guys see in my social, I am Casey Brooks' son. But at the end of the day, I wanted to be Beau Brooks. And that's what I strive my whole life to be. I moved literally off the other side of the country, and no one knew me. No one knew anything about me. And I inserted myself into the companies that I'm in now, because I had an opportunity to. I had my own company before that. And, Casey is, and what people, because here with this big bull, a lot of my dad stuff has come up, and I help my dad all the time. But I'm like, man, he's the nicest, and he's the nicest dude, and he's so talented at what he does. I mean, it's just, it's just like you don't like hunting turkeys out of a blind. I had in my turkey hunting career, I wanted to, just be on the ground, do it. But, after now we're harvesting out however many turkeys that we're getting in front of people. At the end of the day, if I've hunted them every other way and I need to sit there on a tree and make me a blind, or sit with someone in a blind, I'll kill them. I mean, I'm happy to kill them anyway now. That's it. And that's the same thing with elk. I'll sit on a wallow. Do I prefer to chase them and run them and gun them? Absolutely. That's exactly the only way that I want to hunt them. But I also, sometimes maybe I'm taking a kid. Maybe I'm this bird is only coming out in that field from one direction, and I've got a vendetta against him because he won't come into my dang call. You know what I mean? And I'll make it happen.
Yeah.
So, it's all tools to me. Every single piece of the puzzle is it. And at the end of the day, our goal is to be successful. That's it. There's a lot of, talk out there like, let the bird win. And I understand what they're saying, is there's some ways that are very aggressive and shouldn't, some that are even illegal, right? That people are doing. But if it's legal, like, man, it's all a part of, your book, in my opinion, and just because it doesn't work for you, or you don't like it, doesn't mean that it doesn't work for someone else. I've learned that traveling all over the country.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, I am excited to get into this. My goal for this is to give the basic 101 turkey communication. Nobody's ever hunted birds before. How do they go out and communicate with turkeys? But also, kind of a high level. I mean, to the guys who are out there all the time chasing birds, but they just want to get better. Now's their chance to hear from one of the greatest bird communicators on planet Earth. How can they improve? How can they get better? How can they call in more birds? How can they understand the communication? How can they understand the turkey language? All the above. So from a basic level, if you're talking to somebody who's never bird hunted, they call you and they say, Beau, I'm going out to turkey hunt for the first time ever this week. How the heck do I do this? From a calling standpoint, what are you telling them?
Well, as far as calling is concerned, man, I suggest they get a box call, man. Box call is the easiest call out there to run. And I just look back to my very first turkey hunt. My dad and I had no idea what we were doing. We got and bought a box call. We called in plenty of turkeys, because I mean, animal communication, it's very similar if you know how to read animals or you ever call animals, right? Like elk or even ducks. You're just watching how they're reacting to it, right? And or listening. The box call is the best tool. And I mean, even at the highest level that I'm running mouth calls and everything, my box call is never not with me. Everyone's like, why do you even run a box call? Because I said, turkeys love those dang things. There's no doubt. And I also keep slate calls and all the different things. But number one, get a box call. And it's a high to a low. If you can yelp, everything else can fall around that. You can kill turkeys with just yelping. That's all you truly need is a nice soft yelp. And so, you'll take that box call and you hit a yeah. That's a high to a low. And that's how you create that yelp. And I have a mouth call. It's all I got here with me right now because I'm back in the office, but it's a yeah. So, and then, doing it in a cadence of strung out through 5 of them.
Okay.
Hop, 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 hop. Hop, 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 hop. Hitting that box call. And let's say that that's just the most basic thing that I'm trying to get it down to the lowest level here. It's just a basic yelp. If you can do that, you will kill turkeys.
Like, what are you communicating to the bird? Just that there's birds in the area? I mean, is that all you're kind of saying at that point?
So, I mean, there's a few different things out there. So there's locating, right? Locating is getting that bird to answer. And so locating can be achieved by using a box call, yelping. Locating can be achieved by using a shot call, which is a crow, an owl, a coyote, a gobble. And a lot of times I like to start the bird, if I can help it, I like to start the bird with a locator of some sort. I don't want to start him with a hen, because what happens when you start him with a hen and he answers, there's a good chance he could be on his way, especially if it's past that 9 o'clock time. You know what I mean? Just like when you get up there and it's not exactly the same as like an elk. You get up there and you bugle, or let's say you cow call and he rips back right below you. What are you going to do? Well, some people would dive in there after him. A lot of times I'll sit down, knock an arrow, and just let him come. But if that's what's so cool about turkeys is if you get him to shot call on it, you hit him and he goes, pow. He's not coming to you. You know what I mean? There's none of that. The back and forth hasn't started yet. You can make your move to get on the correct ridge, maybe back up, maybe move forward. The ball is in your court. But when you throw out that yelp the first time and he answers, there's always going to be that chance that he's already on his way. And so I'm a big fan of, hitting them with an owl, hitting them with a crow. Coyote is good for early morning. I wouldn't do it in the middle of the day unless it's a last resort. I say that because it'll scare them. You get there and they'll answer a coyote 9 times out of 10, even in the middle of the day, but it can also shut them down. They'll answer it one time because they can't help it, and then they just completely shut off. So, a lot of times I keep a crow call with me. Anyone can owl hoot with their voice. It doesn't have to be perfect, right? The owl hooting, I just make an O with my mouth and I just pinch the back of my throat. Comes from your stomach. who cooks for you, right? And it's for me, I like to start them with that. If you're pulling up to an area, hit them first with whatever hit him first with your locator. He doesn't answer that. Then you move into your box call, your yelping, your mouth call, whatever you choose. Hopefully I'm not getting too far over anyone's head, but it should be, it's turkey hunting, man. I put it all in I got so much stuff I carry with me. And, we have here lately, people are like, oh, what about like this new gobble tube? You've seen this stuff. People are going all crazy about it. It's been awesome. But they're like, oh man, do you need that? Well, I can go out and I promise you, I could go out with just my voice and this mouth call and I can be successful. But if I want to be a machine, I have all my things with me. I have my mouth calls. I have a few mouth calls. I have a box call. I have a slate call because I have this gobble tube that I can crow call on. I can gobble on. It's all about striking a nerve with these birds. You know what I mean? It's all about finding something that they're just like, I'll hit them with let's just say I've got a bird gobbling. I got my box call and I hit him with the box call. He doesn't. He's uninterested. He answers like every 5-6 times. So I take a little slate call, and I'll hit him with the on that slate call. Then all of a sudden he hits it every single time. It strikes a nerve with them. I know that it's so hard to stay. I gotta stay basic, but it's everything's a tool,
you're talking talking to a basic turkey hunter, so I can keep you in check. I promise you that. Because 100%. So let's answer me this. For those that have never turkey hunted before, and I grew up with a dad, and the only reason I know this is because I grew up with a dad who, like, we would just be out in the woods, and he loved to hoot and get turkeys to gobble. But for those who are sitting here and they're like, okay, I've never turkey hunted. Why in the world would a turkey respond to a different species? You know what I mean? Like, why are you using owls and crows and coyotes?
So when in the spring, and even I would say in the spring the most, but in all times of the year, man, when a bird is startled, it's an octave hits too high for whatever reason, he can't help it. It is a involuntary response for him to gobble. And so you even slamming your truck door sometimes can get him to gobble. Are they going to come in after you slam your truck door? No. And that's why if you hunt with anyone, I'm telling you, Michael Waddell, any of these guys, you close your door quietly or you're going to get smacked on the back of the head. You know what I mean? But so the reason that a turkey will answer a coyote over an owl or a crow, like they answer a coyote almost every single time, is my last resort, and it works so well, is because they're scared. They're legitimately like, oh, and then they gobble. And so it's just the same thing as you watch the videos on the internet that, like, the pet turkeys, you say gobble, 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 gobble at the right octave, and they're gobble, 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 gobble. It's just, they can't stand it. And so using an owl, using a crow, using one of these other species, it especially the more realistic it sounds, that helps a lot too, because if it's not realistic, it can sometimes set them off that you're a hunter, right? You hear, ha, 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 ha. The same way that the last 10 guys came up on that corner, then, they may answer it, but they're already on edge. So, I mean, it's such a game, dude. Turkey hunting is so fun. But every single turkey is so different to me. It's just like every single elk, they're so different. But a lot of times you got to listen to how they're answering, when they're answering, and how often they're answering. And that is more important than any call that you can make, is understanding the timing of the calling. If you call and he answers like 2 minutes later, he could be in there with a hen, you know what I mean? And or he's not answering. So there's just so many scenarios like that.
So let's what are all of the common communications that you're going to use, common noises as far as, because you've already mentioned like yelp and you've already mentioned gobbles. Like, what are the common sounds a turkey is going to make?
I will just go through what all these sounds are and what they mean. Let's just do that. Basic yelp is just a that can mean a few things, right? That can mean I'm right here. Where are you? Get over here. Or I'm coming over to whoop on you, depending on how fast or slow you do it. Or I'm waking up and just saying, are you guys awake? That is a tree yelp. And that's a sound you make on the roost. And that's a very common sound that people are going to make. You know, that's that real soft yelp. It's when they first wake up in the morning and they do this, they shake and they. And they're going back and forth and back and forth. The cluck. That's more of an Eastern style cluck. This would be more of a Merriam. And so that's a content sound. That's a lot of times. That's just, you're foraging. It's not a putt. It is a content sound. They're feeding. A lot of times it's paired with whines and purrs. So, you hear a purr. That is a lot of times they're scratching, they're happy for the most part. And you'll hear the octave that they're making that noise. And it's usually a very content sound. And that is a sound that works very, very well, especially when you've got him gobbling, shut down on him, cat and mouse, the curiosity will kill the cat. You start to shut down on him and give him less and less and less. You get real quiet. And it's just like, I don't care about you. I'm over here. I'm feeding. I'm happy with my buddies. You know what I mean? And a lot of times those toms can't stand that. And so the whine is a sound that, you only hear every so often. Merriams and Rios are way more notorious about making the whine. But I use it a lot when I'm calling, and it works really well for me. I mean, I have great success because it's something that they're not hearing a lot of either, right? So it's still just a calm, content sound, but it's something that people aren't using a lot. Maybe more in the last 5 to 6 years because I've been kind of teaching it. I remember I heard it. Will Primo's did it the first time on a old CD. I heard him saying "new woo." That's how he was telling people to do it, and I practiced it. And I'm like, I haven't heard anything. And I had a flock in a youth hunt, about 40 or 50 turkeys come through. Wouldn't come in. They were just up above me, and I'm just watching them. And I hear "new woo." I'm like, oh, that's the sound. And so to this day, there's people that the turkeys don't do that. Well, I've heard them do it plenty, and I have lots of pet turkeys as well. And so I listen to them constantly. They've taught me a ton. So, that sound is a great sound. The cluck, the yelp, and the purr are a staple as far as calling turkeys. Those are your top three sounds in my opinion. Yelp being on top just for foundation of calling, let alone just killing. You know what I mean? And so there are other sounds. There's the keys. That's a young hen. A lot of times you hear it in the fall when they scatter and whatnot, but they're also, it is a sound that you'll hear in the spring. And, that's even Harold said it the other day. He said, you'd be surprised how many times you'll hear that in the woods. And I've heard it plenty. I've tried it a lot. Have I had great success? The times I've had great success is when one is keying at me. Say there's a hen with the tom and she's going, shout, beep, 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 and I'll hit her with it right back. And a lot of times that'll drive them crazy because it's a sound when they can't quite hit the yelp every single time. It's an octave thing. as they're growing up. And so a real young hen will make that noise. And, those young hens can be kind of a problem because they get bred and they're just dump nesting. So what that means is they're going to the nest and laying eggs. But it's like a communal nest between a bunch of young birds, but they don't do anything. So they'll be there the whole season instead of the old hens that'll get on the nest as the season gets going on later. They're just laying the egg and leaving. And so they can be a pain.
So how do you know when to differentiate between all of these calls? How do you know how loud to get? How do you know how quiet to stay?
Yeah, man. Just a rule of thumb, man. You stay quiet in the morning, like first thing right off the bat. When they're in the tree, don't call at him every single time they're gobbling. He's roosted. You just, give him a little bit of something to tell him where you're at. You hear that Tom Kelly saying, he says that he's like, man, I yelp at him once and I throw my call in the woods, so I'm not tempted to use it again. There's a lot to be said for that, especially for your eastern birds. Out west, man, I'm pretty aggressive with them. But I know those birds so well because I grew up with them. As far as calling, I like to stay soft in the morning. Every turkey hunter knows, for the most part, that's kind of our, you start the morning off, tree yelping, real quiet, clucks. Don't call at him every single time he gobbles. A lot of times I like to yelp at him when he's been sitting there for a little bit, not gobbling. I like to yelp at the hens a little bit, so they go, I'll just go, and he'll pow, and I just sit there and wait for a while. Let him think about it. Let him chew on it. And if there's no hens, just a little yelp to let him gobble for about 15 minutes in the morning. If he's up there in the tree, let him have it. Let him sit up there and pow, pow, pow on all the owls, everything, and then hit him with that. And then let him just chew on that for a while. That can make a huge difference. And I'm a big fan of it. So as the morning goes on, man, I'll get a little bit more aggressive. Honestly, my favorite time to kill a turkey is from 9 o'clock on. I do okay off the roost, but they always got hens, man, especially early in the season, unless it's a 2-year-old, a pair of 2-year-olds or something. And so a lot of times if it's a pair of 2-year-olds, they'll be in your lap in a few minutes. You know what I mean? As soon as that you hear, and they'll be in your lap. If not, you can either wait them out, but if he gets down, gobbles, goes the other direction, a lot of times I may go somewhere else, try and find one that wants to play, and then slowly work my way back into that area. And I'm a little bit more, a lot of times I want to get in there, get set down, and Mark Drury and we were hunting one time, and he's like, you start off pretty aggressive and then pull your way back, where he starts off real quiet and then works his way up. And I think that as I've gotten older, I'll start a little quieter. But if I know the birds, a lot of times I'll get in there with a real aggressive, and then I shut it off and let him just think about that for a little bit. You know what I mean? And because he could come in quiet, because that's something that, a lot of these eastern birds, or that if they answer you, they pow, and then you call and they don't answer again, you better have your gun ready, because he's probably coming in quiet. And then all of a sudden he'll either hear pow at about 50 yards, or you'll hear, which is spitting and drumming. It's the sound that they make when you'll see it. Even my pet turkey, he just makes a clicking sound, and then he has a bunch of air in his craw, and he drums. He goes, and you can hear that from 70 to 100 yards away. You know what I mean? And so
and what's he saying when he's saying that?
Look at me. That's essentially what he's saying. He's shaking his feathers so that everybody's like, hey, I'm right here. It's a noise they make when they're strutting. When you get a bunch of toms together, then you hear, and they're just essentially, it's just their mating ritual. They're showing it off. There's probably someone that's got a better, more in-depth, in-depth reasoning to it. But to me, I mean, even my pet turkey that he comes up and he goes, he's just trying to get my attention. Show how pretty he is.
Yeah.
And so, just because he's not gobbling doesn't mean he's coming.
So and that's what I was going to ask you. Is there like a final noise where you're like, okay, he's coming, shut up. Like, don't say anything else. Like, that's the noise. I know he's on his way. He's coming.
Well, if I hear him spitting and drumming, I mean, especially in the woods, I mean, he's close. And
Yeah.
I would suggest not calling if you hear him spitting and drumming, right? It's like this. Do not move a muscle and just do this. Just move your eyes. Don't move your head. Move your eyes. And you're just going to scan, looking for that little head or the top of his fan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You'll hear the spit and drum can be deceiving too on where it's coming from, because you'll hear, and he could be behind you sometimes. They're notorious for that. They'll come like this and they'll slip past you, won't say anything, and then pow, right behind you. But I mean, if he answers you 2 times, pow, pow, I always try to give him a fair shot. You know what I mean? If he gobbles at me twice, I want to be ready. I want to give him time, and I want to see what he's going to do. Because if he's interested enough to hit it twice, then he's interested, in my opinion. It's at least enough to answer. You know what I mean? So you just got to build this deal in your mind. And what can happen too is if you keep calling at him, he'll just stay there, because the natural order of things is the tom gobbles and struts and the hens run to him, right? So we're doing the reverse of that. We're making him come to us. But that's what he's doing when he's spitting and drumming his way in. He's like, I'm right here. You come on, get over here. I'm right here. And if you're quiet, it'll just ruin his day, and you'll have to keep coming and looking for you. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. So how do you know, okay, I need to dial it back. I'm calling too much. How do you know I need to be more aggressive here? Like, I need to keep on calling, to keep on pushing forward. Like, where's the balance in listening to them versus responding to them?
Well, absolutely. So, the biggest thing for me is I want to just, time is your time kills turkeys, right? Time with them, and just time in general. So a lot of things can happen with time. This time, if you're with them, turkeys can see for a long ways, right? And I make a lot of risky moves, but I've been doing it a long time. I've also killed a majority of my turkeys by sitting down instead of, and being cautious. You know what I mean? Like I couldn't tell you how many times, even to this day, and I guarantee you any of the best turkey hunters will tell you how they got up, they're like, he's gobbling, let's just move in on him. And then all of a sudden, here he's coming up the hill, right? And he busted you. Or he's like, oh, the bird shut up. So, giving that bird a half hour, he answers and he's within that 200-yard range, just sit down and just build a little profile on him. Call at him, see if he answers, and just be ready the whole time. Call at him again, see if he answers. And I will literally set a timer on my phone that says 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or 15 minutes, depending how deep I'm into it with this bird, right? So if I go in there, and a lot of times I'll hit him with and he goes, pow. Okay, guys, just sit and wait for a second. Wait for 5 minutes, right? So if you have a timer on your phone, it helps you just not call again, because it's so tempting to want to hit him again. You know what I mean? But give it a little bit of time. And so that 5 minutes can mean a lot to a turkey. And a 5 minutes can be a lot to you. It feels like a lifetime before you call again. So I love to call. A lot of us love to call and love to hear him gobble. So I'll just sit there and I'll wait and wait and wait. And I look down like, okay, I'm going to hit my call one more time. And I may hit it a little quieter, more like, I hit it real quiet like that. And if he answers that, or he answers something real quiet, I know he's very interested, right? If he doesn't answer it, I'm like, okay, what's going on here? Is he coming, or is he just over there? So I'll give it a little bit more time, let it pass. That could be 5, 10 minutes. And I'll try what I originally tried. If he hammers on that, I'm like, okay, I'm just trying to build this playbook on what's happening. And if I get through it, and we've been going back and forth at this game for an hour, and I've thrown the stuff I want to throw at him, then, and sometimes it could be, I'll get to like the 25-minute mark. I'm like, okay, I'm going to make my move. But I'm an elk hunter, right? And at the end of the day, if I bust that turkey and I mess him up, a lot of times I'm hunting on public land. I'm not hunting small tracks a lot of times. I'll go find another. You know what I mean? But if you're hunting a small track, I would highly suggest that you just stay still, because that bird will come around eventually. There are plenty of guys that sit there all day and they make one call every half hour. And there's a lot of guys that are successful at that. I'm not necessarily one of those guys that likes to do that. That's not my style, but it does work. I will resort to that if I'm hunting one of my wife's properties that she's got permission on, and I don't want to ruin it for, I'll get my butt kicked if I ruin her turkey hunting property. And so, she's way more patient than I am. And so she'll sit there all day. And so I just sit there and I'll call and just listen and call. And he may not even be answering me that whole time, but I know he's there. The property, he's there. And so, it's just, I'm just trying to, I want to see, what I'm thinking of in my mind, how hard is he hitting it back? Is he just kind of going, pow, 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 or is he going, wow, facing me? And he's super aggressive. If he's not answering me real hard, he could have been messed with already. He's not feeling it. He has a hen. A lot of times they have a hen. If he's got a hen and he's got a hen, then I just wait him out. You just give him time. Is that hen a lot of times at that 9 o'clock time, he'll leave. He'll leave. She'll just go. You'll look and watch him in a field, and then all of a sudden she'll just go, and she's gone. And then he's like, oh no, where's he at? And then you yelp at him, and then he just comes running across the field just one time because and everything changes. I've hunted birds before that I know have a hen every single day, and then I show up one day. And that's the day that she decided to be on the nest, and he comes in 2 seconds. I've spent 3 days of my life hunting the same bird. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so I know that there's so much to it, guys. It's truly about what turkey calling is about is going out there and learning from everything that you do. That's what it is. Don't be afraid to try something. Don't be afraid to go out there and maybe just cluck at him. Maybe just purr at him. Hit him with an aggressive yelp. And figure out what that does to that bird. And not all of them are the same, but you'll figure out tendencies and you'll find your style of how you're calling these birds. I've hunted with a lot of very, very good turkey hunters, and we all hunt a little bit different, right? And it's just because this is what we've learned, and these are the experiences we've had. But man, the biggest thing that kills a turkey, in my opinion, is patience. Like that's it's always I always mess them up when I get super impatient. I stand up, I do something too crazy. I have good success if I know that a bird's coming down this ridge and I'm on this one here, and I know that I can make the move, I make the move to make sure I'm in a better position. But if he's already coming and I'm like, man, I'd be better off just sitting. I just have great success with all these guys have great success with just being patient.
So a question I have, and maybe it's because you were making those noises so quietly, but what's the balance, or how do you understand the difference in him not responding, or maybe I'm not being loud enough and he doesn't hear me? Like where, you know what I mean?
They always hear you.
Okay, he's hearing this, but he's not responding.
Yep. And that's the thing is it doesn't. Him not responding doesn't always mean that he's not eating up what you're doing, right? So, and that's what those clucks and purrs. That's if he does answer it, is that's why I like running the cluck and purr. If he does answer it, I'm like, oh, okay, he's feeling it. You know what I mean? Like he's ready. He's picking up what I'm putting down. If he doesn't answer it, I'm like, okay, did he not? Is he not interested? And am I just getting him to almost shot gobble off that yelp that's loud that I yelped at him earlier? Or does he have a hen, or what's going on? And the turkey can hear you, man. I hear a cluck and a purr and scratching in the leaves at like 150 yards, easy. In most days, I mean, even it's just amazing how good at hearing they have, because that's all they have to do in life is look and listen. You know what I mean? They rely on everything, and so, even that little subtle scratching that I'm talking about, I kill more turkeys doing that dang scratching that just right on my side, and than anything. And a lot of times he won't answer that. He'll just come in quiet, because it's the best rule of thumb, man, is to stay a little bit more on the quiet side. And then, then build your way up. I mean, it's a tried and true method and it works well. And so and at the end of the day too if it's windy, you guys will know the situations where he can't hear you. You know what I mean? If it's blowing 20, there's definitely times where that box call, you rip it out and it's enough to get him to get his attention. But, if you're talking about a beautiful spring day with a 7-mile-an-hour wind and it's warm, he can hear you, man. He can hear you talking to your buddy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So you mentioned starting with the box call because it's easier, but you also mentioned that you carry all these other calls with you. How do you know when to use what kind of call? Like, when do you say, okay, I'm going to put the box call down, get the slate call versus the mouth call versus the gobble tube? How do you know how to navigate all those different things?
Yeah, man, that's a great question. So, number one, your go-to is going to be the one you're most comfortable with, right? So that's what I would suggest. Being confident on a call is more important than anything. It's just, don't be afraid to mess up. But at the end of the day, if you run a slate call real well, then, try and strike them up with a slate call first. You're going to feel more confident. You're not going to be like, oh man, did I make the wrong call? Did I mess up right here? Right. And so I usually like to tell people to just find, you could be into every one of those calls, the slate, the Holy Trinity, the box call, the mouth call, and the slate call. Like, if you bought it from us, you could literally be into it at like $120. You could have all of those things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In today's day and age, that is especially, you go elk hunting, your boots are $400, $500. You know what I mean? So to have those three things, you can be into them for not a lot. And a lot of our calls are so good nowadays that, you can find what works for you. I run my go-to for getting one to go when he won't go is a box call. You know what I mean? Like, if I want to be loud, that's the box call. That's my go-to for me and how I run calls. I get a box call. I cut with it a lot. I go, and I'll yelp with it. And I have great success with that. The slate call, I run it. The slate call is usually the call that I run last. Why is that? Because I'm a big mouth call guy, and my slate or pot call or whatever, I like the sound of my slate call or my pot call, and I think it sounds good, but I don't think it sounds as good as when I'm running a mouth call. That's just, for me, I don't like it as much. But I'll tell you, I couldn't tell you how many times I get out there and I go and I just let out something that I feel like could win Grand Nationals tomorrow with my mouth call, and he won't give me the time of day, and I pull out my dang slate call and I go, pop, 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 ah, 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 and he goes, pow. And I go, come on. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and that's what and I'm just saying this from a hunter standpoint, because I'm still learning birds, but that's a perfect example as to, everybody's seeking out that perfect call and everybody's seeking out that perfect noise. Well, no two birds sound the same. So there is no perfect call. So like, even if I've heard, and to your point, like I've heard people on a cow call that sound phenomenal and they don't respond. And then they let out a bugle that sounds like garbage. And you're like, what was that? And then the bull rips off. And you're like, yeah, I mean, that's what did it. I mean, because no two bulls sound the same, no two turkeys sound the same. There is no perfect noise. Now, should we hone our skills and get the best we can at making noises? Absolutely. But don't get so fixated on like, well, it's not the perfect tone, because there is no perfect tone. Now, let me ask you this. You say start with a box call. For the new turkey hunter, what would you say the progression, and I say should, because again, some people might not be able to do everything that, some people might be able to run something better. But what would you say should be kind of after you get good with a box call, then add in this. Then when you get good with that, then add in this.
Well, man, I think that I think that it depends on how serious you want to be about turkey hunting, right? I think that you get your box call, you practice on it. It's not going to take you long to get good at running a box call, in my opinion. There's so many good resources out there on teaching people how to run it. It is a very simple call to run, and it sounds incredible. And so my thought process is with it is, man, it's never too early to start throwing in a mouth call. I mean, there's no reason. I mean, if there's a pack that has a pot call, a box call, and a mouth call in it, I get all three of them. Just knowing that you're going to be able to start hunting tomorrow with that box call, but the mouth call is going to take time. You may have a gag reflex. You may have trouble with it. The mouth call is a very hard thing to learn. It's not necessarily. I mean, it took me a year before I could even really run a dang mouth call. I mean, everyone's got to start somewhere. You don't become Dave Owens or Corey Jacobson or any of these guys overnight. You know what I mean? It's practice. So if you're taking, the one thing that's nice about a mouth call is you can do it anywhere. You're driving around, running around, and having that mouth call in your mouth having that mouth call in your mouth is a huge plus when a bird's out there at 60 yards and maybe he's going back over the ridge and you want to stop him, turn him around, whatever. You don't have to move your hands. You're not, once you see that bird, you're done making calls with a box call. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you can't move and turkey's going to see you.
Right.
And so, I mean, I can sometimes, like, I know he's going behind that tree. So maybe I'm like, I do some tricky stuff sometimes, but I've also been caught. And so just rule of thumb. The slate call, man, is very simple to use too. It's very easy to learn on, and it's very easy to get soft with. So I just suggest, man, that, I mean, get a box call. If you had to just choose one, get a box call first, but I'd have all three of those bad boys with you if you're turkey hunting, because, a lot of guys aren't going to be able to purr on a mouth call. Maybe ever. You can't roll your tongue or whatever. So It's so easy to purr and cluck on a slate call. You're not going to be able to do that on a box Call unless you're David Halloran or one of these guys that are just extremely talented at it, right? And so anyone can do any of this stuff with practice, but it's like just getting you there so you're hunting. So the slate call is good for soft calling and clucking and purring. The box call is great for yelping and cutting if you want to. And the mouth call is a hands-free setup, and you can do anything on it. The world's your oyster with a mouth call, but you got to put in the time and practice.
So for the guy listening, that is they're the best turkey caller ever. Like, they can call on any bird. They're listening to this. What do you think the biggest mistake that you see people make? They think they're doing good, but the biggest mistake that you see good callers make?
Well, yeah, that's not I'll be honest, that's not for me to judge on guys that are calling at a high level. But I'll tell you, and this is with all sorts of calling, I'm around all the contest guys. I've called in every scenario. I have friends that are incredible callers. I was one of these guys that was really good at running a call, but not necessarily didn't know how to run it, right? When I was younger, when I was a kid, I could run every call, but it didn't mean I knew how to use it. So, over calling, loving to hearing yourself call. It's a fun thing to do, right? Getting them to gobble. But, being purposeful of what you're saying and being smart and reading the bird. The great example is your duck caller that's blowing your duck call at the ground. And he sounds incredible, but he's not even looking at the birds, right? So he's not working them. He's just duck calling. And
Yeah.
so it's the same thing with turkey calling. If you just and then you just he's gobbling, it's pretty. That doesn't mean that bird's coming. You know what I mean? And same thing with elk calling.
Yeah.
I've heard some great elk callers that are the kids that haven't been in a lot of scenarios. They sound incredible, but they don't know when to call. And that's so much more important. You give me a guy that knows when to call, he is going to put the person that sounds better than anyone on the planet, he's going to put them on the cover 9 times out of 10. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so timing is everything.
So how does this all change? Because something you just said begs this question in my mind. How does this all change when you're talking about a very pressured bird? This bird has seen and heard everything already. How does your calling and how does your strategy towards calling and communicating with that bird change?
Man, I'm a lot more timid when I'm calling at a bird that's highly pressured. I'm very purposeful, and even if I do get loud, it's a very purposeful loud, and then I give them a lot of time on the back end of it. So my calls are way more spread out. My movements are a lot longer, as far as when I make movements, when I do things. It's very pressured birds, man. They're a lot of the times the soft stuff and understanding where they're going to be, and even the curiosity kills the cat. Man, scratching leaves, understanding where he's going to be at, and being real quiet and having him come to you, and knowing that, it's going to take time is a lot of times how you kill those pressured birds.
Yeah. Now, walk me through a calling setup. Actually, before I ask you that, what you haven't mentioned is the gobble tube. When do you utilize the gobble?
Yeah, it's a last ditch effort, man. So, we came out with this gobble tube, and it's actually turned into a lot more things than what it originally was. Originally is oscillated turkey call, and we used it down there, and that was super cool. But the gobble is something that I've been using more the last few years, and it's a pressured bird. That's a bird that won't cross a fence. That's a bird that making him do something when he is essentially does not give a crap about hens. And I can't get to him, right? So I can't make him move around him. I can't do things. But you know what? I'm gonna try it. I'm like, hey, hit that box call. I'm gonna cut it off with a gobble or whatever. So, the whole thing with I've been using my mouth call the last few years, and it works good, but a mouth call to me doesn't have the depth or the body or the volume to truly replicate a gobble, at distance. So with the gobble tube is I'll hit it with just I'm hitting with a yelp, and then I cut it off with a gobble. So what you can do on this is it's just cutting or yelping or crow call, and I cut it off with a gobble. I run it to make him jealous, man. Like something that's going to get under his skin when I've tried all of my other calls. And I also use it to locate, because let's say I'm on a very high pressured, these birds aren't gobbling at crow calls anymore. They're not really answering owls. Well, I'll tell you what they will answer is when I yelp, big dog in the back gobbles, then here comes another one gobbles, that one gobbles. You've heard it. I mean, even probably the times that you've hunted turkeys, if one starts to go, other ones will answer. And so it's one of the best locators on the planet, and it's not going to throw them off. It's not what everyone else is doing. We've been using these gobble tubes for years. It's nothing. It's not that this is something that's completely new. This is a tool that's in your vest that 10% of the population already does. You know what I mean? And so it's definitely something that you can use when all else is failing.
Okay, so then devil's advocate here, if it's one of the best ways to, if they're not going to answer crow, they're not going to answer owl, they're not going to answer coyote, but they will answer the gobble, why not start your locator with the gobble?
Well, I will say that I think I'm going to start doing it more. You know what I mean? your turkey hunting career changes. It's always changing, and that's what's so beautiful about it. You're talking to Harold Knight the other day, and Harold's like, "I've been doing this for 70 years, and I still don't know." You know what I mean? Like you still aren't.
Yeah.
I mean, you can.
Yeah.
You can ask Casey too about elk. You've been doing it. 88th bull with the bow or 89 or whatever he's at. I think he's at 89, and still we go back and forth like we're kids when we're talking about how to call a bull in. You know what I mean? And so it's like, yeah, there's nothing wrong with stepping up to the plate and hammering a gobble on him. You know, the only thing is if you make a turkey vocalization to get him to go, there's always that chance that he's coming. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So that makes sense.
And so that's where, but that being said, you get in there and you hit a Primo's, that can set a bird off that's been pressured a lot because he's heard it 500 times this season, right? And so he's like, okay, yeah, that's another one of those calls. You know what I mean? And so, you know, and that's where realism can make a big difference. You know what I mean? Like if I do a crow call with my voice, I'm not worried about it ever throwing them off because I think it sounds very realistic. And I mean, if you put my voice next to a crow, I would say it's very similar. You know what I mean? Versus just a reed. And so, I mean, it's all, I mean, that was a great question about the gobble. Like you could start them with it. And I mean, I think that more and more I've been leaning towards it because it's just something that people just aren't picking up and doing, you know? And so it definitely has its time and place.
Yeah.
Also, just a disclaimer, you got to be careful using it on public.
I bet. So the question I wanted to get to as well, if you've got two buddies and you're trying to set up a calling scenario where you're going to call for your buddy and bring that bird into your buddy, how do you set up that calling? How do you actually set up as far as the physical locations of like calling a bird to someone else?
I do my whole elk hunting style. I like to put them up there about 20 to, for turkeys especially, I'll put them up there that 20 to 50 yard mark, right? I get my guys up on the edge of the ridge like this where the bird's over here, right? I want to be behind it so I can call it past them, right? They're not looking at my guys. I want to be able to call the bird past them. It's a very simple scenario, same like elk hunting. I really like to be in a spot where I can drop back and move around sometimes if I need to, right? If he gets hung up, then I can just dive down into the bottom and just keep calling my way down. And I've had great success doing that. But a lot of times, just a general rule of thumb, put your guy in front of you, 20 to 50 yards, you know, get them in front of you where you think that bird's going to come from, somewhere where, you know, I can get nice and hidden. Another way you can do it too is being off to the side of them, you know, to drag that bird past them. The whole end goal is to keep the eyes off of them and fixated on where your sound is coming from. And a lot of times, man, if you couldn't tell you how many times that you're the shooter and you're calling and that bird, if you would just come 10 more yards, 20 more yards, you'd shoot them, right? And so having those guys ahead, I mean, that's just it's a great deal. I mean, I have, when I was guiding, I used to have clients, I'd keep them right next to me, just to help them. You know, there's definitely times where that, but if you and your hunting buddies are out there and you guys are in sync, you know, don't be afraid to put them in front of you.
Yeah. All right, Beau, it is time for our rapid fire questions presented by Tito Knives. What is your favorite? This doesn't have to be turkeys. What is your favorite bird to hunt?
Oh man. I love turkeys and waterfowl, man. I can't make a decision on that. I'll tell you what I've been enjoying is shooting them dang starlings because I feel like I'm making a difference. I'm probably not, but
yeah,
they're so freaking smart, dude.
What's your favorite bird to call?
Man, I love calling turkeys. The back and forth is my favorite.
Okay. Favorite state to turkey hunt in?
Man, I love Georgia. Georgia's rad.
If you forget your toilet paper, what are you wiping with?
99% of the time, it's a sock or a shirt. I've done it like 10 times this year.
What's the longest shot you've ever made on a turkey?
Like 70. But I don't shoot him far often because I don't shoot a turkey choke. But he was running off, and I'm like, gotta send it.
Yeah. What's the shortest shot you've ever taken?
Oh, dude, I've shot him dang near touching my gun barrel. I've shot him tight. Yeah.
What's your favorite snack in the turkey woods?
Oh man. I'll be completely honest with you. I don't bring snacks because I have this thing where I think, and I do it with my elk hunting guys too. I have this saying, if I don't bring snacks, that for some reason they're going to look down on us, or I don't bring water and we're stuck down in there packing out a bull or whatever it is, then I'm going to be more successful. I don't know what it is. It's just my own own weird deal. I just don't bring anything with me. Yeah.
There you go. So you're the one that's always bumming snacks off everybody else because you didn't bring any.
Oh, I love fruit snacks. I do. I love fruit snacks. But if I got to take them from other people because I'll never have anything with me.
All right. The TV in camp has to be stuck all week long on a single cartoon. What cartoon it's got to be on that channel all week. What cartoon are you picking for it to be stuck on?
Dude, a cartoon? I can't even remember any cartoons right now. Holy cow. I don't even know. I don't know. I would have The Office, but it's not a cartoon. I'd have The Office on one episode of The Office. It's the one where they burn down the office.
I have worked through that in my mind a lot. And here's the perfect answer. It's a new age show. And my kids used to love it. It's called Grizzy and the Lemmings. The reason I say that's perfect is because it's like the old Tom and Jerry where they don't talk ever. But they're all, they're just trying to trick each other, and the lemmings are trying to steal the stuff from the grizzly, and the grizzly's trying to kill all the lemmings. And so it's a funny show, but I don't have to listen to any like stupid talking, so I think that would be the perfect answer. But hey, I can also throw down on some SpongeBob too. What is the biggest turkey hunting gimmick?
Gimmick. There was one that was called the squealing hen back in the day, and I bought into it 100%. It's not that the turkey doesn't make that noise, because I watched a video of them making it, but man, oh man, it don't work. It's supposed to be the sound of a tom when he's stepping on the back of a hen. Yeah, I remember I used it one time, and the turkeys were gobbling at it. I'm like, oh, dude, they're coming. They're like running away. So.
Dude, Aaron Warburton from the Hunting Public said that the gobble tube was the biggest gimmick.
Oh, whatever.
He actually said it. He actually said it was the cool. I asked him, and I'm going to ask you. I asked what the new coolest product at NWTF was, and that was his answer. It was the gobble tube. So, what was your favorite new product at NWTF?
Favorite new product? Well, I'm biased. I think that I think the tube is pretty freaking cool. But
yeah, it was the talk of the show for sure.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I didn't get a chance to really walk around. Woodhaven came out with a hawk call, I believe, and I thought that was pretty smart and pretty cool. I'm a big fan of the Woodhaven guys. They've been friends of mine for a while, so I like that. Freddie came out with a new vest. I think that vest is that's cool. I love seeing innovation, man. It's so cool to just see it. I mean, I like poking the bear, and I'm nothing is ever perfect, man. There's heritage, and I'm huge on heritage. I want to collect all the calls in the world, but there's so much that we still haven't uncovered. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. If you could share camp with anyone, Dead or alive, who would you share camp with?
I would share camp with, oh man, Will Ferrell, man. That'd be so funny. Just making stepbrother jokes for a week.
That's a good answer, dude. That's a really good answer.
Bury him when he's sleeping.
That's a great answer, dude. Skylar Bradley at ATA said Theo Vaughn. I thought that was a really good answer. Because most of the time you get like Fred Bear or you get Teddy Roosevelt, you get all these legends in hunting, and then you hear one of those names and you're like, dude, that would be stinking epic,
I grew up around a lot of the legends, with Casey, and so he's my Fred Bear. I get to hunt with him all the time.
Yeah, that's really cool, man. Great answer, Will Ferrell. Great answer. What's the biggest turkey hunting tip you could give somebody as they go into this spring?
If you think you need to stand up, wait 15 minutes. If you think you need to move, use quick goblin, give it 15 minutes.
Yeah, that's a really good one, dude. And it's very similar to my whitetail tip. If you're trying to like spot and stalk, or you're trying to still hunt, and you think you're going slow down. And if you think you're going too slow down some more. That's always my tip when it comes to trying to do that type of stuff. Beau, where can they find more of your content? Where can they dissect more calling tips from you? Where can they find more out about power calls? Give us all the rundown, man. Yeah, man. You'll just look up Beau Brooks on any of your normal platforms, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I put on tons of tutorials. There's actually in the TikTok app, I have for every species of animal you could call, I have a drop down. I'm working on some stuff too to make that more streamlined, but man, I do have some content on YouTube on Higdon Outdoors. It's not necessarily tutorial content. It's more hunting, just like a live series hunting that I self-film. But man, it's, we have the calls on www.power-calls.com. And we're literally, thank God we are in all of your major retailers too. So, and a lot of your mom and pop. So if you're looking for our calls, end caps and Shields, Bass Pro, Cabela's, Academy, pretty much anywhere that you could think of, North 40, we're in all of them. Very cool, man. Well, I got to head to Cabela's and pick up some new calls from Power Calls. Also, guys, do not forget that with this series, there's new episodes every single day. So we've got episodes dropping Monday through Friday, covering everything turkey hunting, giving you all the tools and equipping you to go out and turkey hunt. But we're also pairing it with a turkey hunt giveaway. So we've got a free guided turkey hunt here in Kansas with Skeen Outfitters. We're going to give you $300 to spend on the Blocker Outdoors website, get you some new clothing to go on the turkey hunt, and a pack of the Dirty Bird broadheads from G5 that were just released. All you have to do to be entered to win the turkey hunt is make sure you are subscribed to the Typical Sportsman podcast on either YouTube or Spotify, and then go and make sure you're liking and following all of those pages on Instagram. Skeen Outfitters, Blocker Outdoors, and G5 Outdoors. Make sure you're following all of those on Instagram, and then just subscribe to the podcast on YouTube or Spotify. Guys, one of the easiest and cheapest ways to upgrade your bow is with a custom set of strings. A lot of people make custom strings, but very few people do it as well as Dominant Strands. Now, the reason I believe they do it really well is because Lewis over there at Dominant Strands, he has years of experience in the industry. His customer service is phenomenal. He offers an incredible wide range of different materials to build your next set of strings out of. And he just knows archery. Lewis is the guy, if I've got a bow that I just can't figure out, I call Lewis. He is incredibly informed, and he's ready to help you build the best set of strings for your bow. Go to dominant-strands.com and get your next bowstring today. Now, I tell everybody, the moment you get a recurve, the best and cheapest and easiest way to make that recurve faster, quieter, and shoot better is to get a custom string. Lewis makes a phenomenal string for a recurve. Guys, go to dominant-strands.com, use code typical10 to get 10% off your entire order, whether that's a set for your compound, a set for your crossbow, a new string for your recurve, any material, any colors. That code is going to get you 10% off your entire order. Dominant Strands, go check them out. Beau, thank you so much for coming on, man. It was an absolute pleasure. Guys, thank you so much for listening. Good luck this spring. As always, I want to share in your success. So if you shoot a turkey, especially your first turkey, that's my favorite thing ever. When I get an email saying, thanks for the series, I shot my first turkey. Please send those over to me. I love to share and celebrate in your success. But thank you guys so much for listening. Have a fantastic week and keep the dusty side up.